Aloha, everybody. Glad you could join me this evening. I've got an idea that I wanted to share with you as we ride down the Sunset Hill tonight. So, let's fire her up and get started, shall we? So, the idea that I've got for you guys tonight has to do with punk and metal. If you don't know anything about the genres, they have a very angry and rebellious spirit to them. And I wanted to talk about that because I think that spirit is what the church needs, particularly the young people in the church. We need some of that. And to understand why I think that, I think we gotta look at the circumstances of my generation. If you're around my age, I'm 25. You know that the world around us, the world we have to look forward to, isn't very hope-inspiring, if I'm being frank. Regardless of political affiliations and things of the sort. Our brains are being rotted away by screens, and our job market is few and far between, and we've been priced out of the housing markets. And despite the fact that we live in a world that's more connected than ever, it's never been harder to form new connections, especially with the other sex. Our dating market is so unbelievably cooked. And we could go on and on about reasons to not have hope in the future. And that's why I want to posit the idea to you guys that God is punk. So the whole idea of the punk energy is rebellion against the powers that be. And if we look at the powers that be, guys, we live in a world that thought that getting rid of God would make us all smarter and more tolerant and more ethical and on and on. And yet that is clearly not true. Our world has never been more the opposite of those things. So if you want to rebel against the status quo, against the powers that be that are trying to rip your life away from you, the answer is God. If you want to rebel, go to church, find God, get married, have kids, do the opposites of all the things that the world is telling you are good. Now, I don't think that we should just take the punk energy and put it straight in the church, because the punk energy is unrefined. It is it's not self-destructive, but it's destructive in nature. I think that we ought to take that feeling and refine it into righteous anger that we put towards a righteous goal. We shouldn't let the world and our schools and our society sterilize us into passivity, sterilize us into hopelessness. We need to have a fire with how we approach our lives and our hope in the future. And that's really the thing that I'm getting at. Remember, guys, the only difference between a bomb and a rocket is that a rocket channels the fire in a specific direction. A bomb destroys everything around it. A rocket flies. And if you look at the men that God chose to lead in the Bible, they weren't these sterilized man babies. They were King David, you know. David has slain his 10,000s. They were men who were willing to build arks and go to war and do these big things that God had set before them. And I sense a revival coming in this generation because we are tired of the status quo that has lied to us and ripped our future away from us. Gen Z is the first generation in modern history since ancient times that does not live a better life than their parents did. And if that's true, that's really bad, guys. That means our society is beginning to regress. And I don't think it's coincidental that that's happened almost immediately, a couple generations after we decided we didn't need God anymore. Because if we don't have God, nothing stops us from being the devil. So that's my message to you all tonight, especially to you young men. It's time to rebel against the powers that be, against the ruler of this age. We need to embody that punk spirit of rebellion. And if hope is rebelling, then that means God is punk.